Hello everyone. In my presentation I will talk about the contribution of the post-colonial feminism to women's rights. The term post-colonial is primarily used as an analytical concept in which processes of subjectification are related to colonial structures. Post-colonial theory provides insights into ongoing and intertwined constructions of ethnicity and gender, as well as exclusions in terms of national belonging and capitalism. Gayatri, Spivak, Lila, Abu-Lughod and Sara Ahmed have, for example, analyzed how the establishment of the white Western individual feminist subject requires a binary opposition who becomes the other woman. This other woman, as a victim of patriarchal oppression, contributes to the constitution of the Western woman as emancipated, free, autonomous and helpful. Post-colonial feminist theories offer a necessary critique from within feminism, pointing out the importance of locating feminist struggles within colonial settings and posing questions regarding the naming of others. Although it is crucial that post-colonial analysis in the Nordic countries moves beyond the national context, the power relationships between the historically constructed categories and the subjects associated with them must also be recognized in order to understand differently positioned and shifting subjectivities. Loftsdóttir sees Iceland as good to think with when considering the salience of colonial categories and ideas in contemporary Europe, reflecting how the margins of Europe can be useful to reflect on the larger processes taking place. The symbolic figure of the mountain woman, as discussed by Björnsdóttir, was emphasized as the nation's mother and the sole and ultimate source of her son's life. She reflected, as feminist scholars have long recognized, the importance of women's bodies in constructing the nation, while generally excluded from direct power and full citizenship. The general construction of the nation as a brotherhood, however, draws attention to how women are often connected to the nation through their physical bodies rather than through their actions or ideas. Post-colonial feminist theory is primarily concerned with the representation of women in once colonized countries and in Western locations. It concentrates on construction of gender difference in colonial and anti-colonial discourses, representation of women in anti-colonial and post-colonial discourses, with particular reference to the work of women writers. The post-colonial feminist critiques raise a number of conceptual, methodological and political problems involved in the study of representation of gender. While post-colonial theory struggles against the maiden colonial discourse that aims at misrepresenting him as inferior, the task of a post-colonial feminist is far more complicated. She suffers from double colonization. Double colonization was a term that first introduced by Kirsten, Holst, Peterson and Rutherfold and refers to the ways in which women have simultaneously experienced the oppression of colonialism and patriarchy. She has to resist the control of colonial power not only as a colonized subject but also as a woman. In this oppression, her colonized brother is no longer her accomplice but her oppressor. In his struggle against the colonizer, he even exploits her by misrepresenting her in the nationalist discourses. She also suffers at the hands of Western feminists from the colonizer countries who misrepresent their colonized counterparts by imposing silence on their racial, cultural, social and political specificities and in so doing act as potential oppressors of their sisters. Post-colonial feminist theory exerts a pressure on mainstream post-colonial theory in its constant iteration of the necessity to consider gender issues. Post-colonialism and feminism have come to share a tense relationship, as some feminist critics point out that post-colonial theory is a male-centered field that has not only excluded the concerns of women but also exploited them. Post-colonial feminist theorists have accused post-colonial theorists not only of obliterating the role of women from the struggle for independence, but also of misrepresenting them in the nationalist discourse. As for the women's problems in Islamic countries, we can mention as an example the continuing malnutrition, poverty and ill health, and their exclusion from employment and schooling. Laura Bush said characteristically about the US intervention in Afghanistan, "Because of our recent military gains in much of Afghanistan, women are no longer imprisoned in their homes. They can listen to music and teach their daughters without fear of punishment. The fight against terrorism is also a fight for the rights and dignity of women." Women's gender and their role as main carers raise family issues. In this way, an intimate link between family issues and gender equality is made, as the family is strongly linked to the social service system, and family benefits and association chain is completed when equality becomes not only national but also official and part of the work of the authorities. This creates a logic of how equality discourse comes to play a central part in migrant citizenship education. For migrants themselves and for professionals, it is significant whether others have room to speak and whether they are listened to. The question is, will migrants be able to clear enough space for themselves in Nordic societies to make the authorities listen to their voices? The post-colonial feminist perspective lies in keeping in mind that migrant women and men are not in the Nordic countries to show us how wonderful these societies are, but to live their everyday lives within society, struggling against inequalities, injustice, and indifference. This is the bibliography I used for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.